Hi, this is Sylvan. I'm going to be doing a reading today of Henry Miller's Tropic of Capricorn. I really hope that you enjoy. If you like being read to, this is the right spot to be. Okay, getting started here. On the ovarian trolley. Once you have given up the ghost, everything follows with dead certainty. Even in the midst of chaos. From the beginning, it was never anything but chaos. It was a fluid which enveloped me, which I breathed in through the gills. In the substrata where the moon shone steady and opaque, it was smooth and fecundating. Above it was a jangle and a discord. And everything I quickly saw the opposite, the contradiction, and between the real and the unreal, the irony, the paradox. It was my own worst enemy. There was nothing I wished to do which I could just as well not do. Even as a child, even when I lacked for nothing, I wanted to die. I wanted to surrender because I saw no sense in struggling. I felt that nothing would be proved, substantiated, added, or subtracted by continuing an existence which I had not asked for. Everybody around me was a failure. Or if not a failure, ridiculous. Especially the successful ones. The successful ones bored me to tears. I was sympathetic to a fault, but it was not sympathy that made me so. It was a purely negative quality, a weakness which blossomed at the mere sight of human misery. I never helped anyone expecting that it would do any good. I helped because I was helpless to do otherwise. I want to change the condition of affairs. It seemed futile to me. Nothing would be altered. I was convinced, except by a change of heart. And who would change the hearts of men? And now and then a friend was converted, and it was something to make me puke. I had no more need of God than he had of me. And if there were one, well, I often said to myself, I would meet him calmly and spit in his face. What was most annoying was that at first blush people usually took me to be good, to be kind, generous, loyal, faithful. Perhaps I did possess these virtues, but if so, it was because I was indifferent. I could afford to be good, kind, generous, loyal, and so forth, since I was free of envy. Envy was the one thing I was never a victim of. I have never envied anybody or anything. On the contrary, I have only felt pity for everybody and everything. From the beginning, I must have trained myself not to want anything too badly. From the beginning, I was independent in a false way. I had need of nobody because I wanted to be free. Free to do and to give only as my whims dictated. The moment anything was expected or demanded of me, I balked. And that was the form of my independence. Well, I was corrupt, in other words. Corrupt from the start. It's as though any mother fed me poison, and though I was weaned young, the poison never left my system. And even when she weaned me, it seemed that I was completely indifferent. Most children rebel or make a pretense of rebelling, but I didn't give a damn. I was a philosopher. When still in swaddling clothes, I was against life on principle. And what principle? The principle of futility. Everybody around me was struggling. I myself never made an effort. If I appeared to be making an effort, it was only to please someone else. At bottom, I didn't give a rap. And if you can tell me why this should have been so, I will deny it, because I was born with a cuss streak in me, and nothing can eliminate it. I heard later, when I was grown up, that they had a hell of a time bringing me out of the womb. I can understand that perfectly. Why budge? Why come out of a nice warm place, a cozy retreat in which everything is offered you gratis? The earliest remembrance I have is of the cold, the snow and ice in the gutter, the frost on the window panes, the chill of the sweaty green walls in the kitchen. Why do people live in outlandish climates, in temperate zones, as they are miscalled? Because people are naturally idiots, naturally sluggards, naturally cowards. Until I was about 10 years old, I never realized that there were warm countries. Places where you didn't have to sweat for a living, nor shiver and pretend that it was tonic and exhilarating. Wherever there is cold, there are people who work themselves to the bone, and when they produce young, they preach to the young the gospel of work, which is nothing at bottom but the doctrine of inertia. My people were entirely Nordic, which is to say, idiots. Every wrong idea which had ever been expounded was theirs, and among them was the doctrine of cleanliness, to say nothing of righteousness, and they were painfully clean. But inwardly they stank. Never once had they opened the door which leads to the soul. Never once did they dream of taking a blind leap into the dark. After dinner, the dishes were promptly washed and put in the closet. After the paper was spread, it was neatly folded and laid away on a shelf. And after the clothes were washed, they were ironed and folded and then tucked away in the drawers. Everything was for tomorrow. But tomorrow never came. And the present was only a bridge. And on this bridge, they are still groaning as the world groans. And not one idiot ever thinks of blowing up the bridge. In my bitterness, I often search for reasons to condemn them, the better to condemn myself, for I am like them too in many ways. For a long while I thought I had escaped. But as time goes on, I see I am no better. And that I am even a little worse. Because I saw more clearly than they ever did, and yet remained powerless to alter my life. As I look back on my life, it seems to me that I never did anything of my own volition, but always through the pressure of others. People often think of me as an adventurous fellow, and nothing could be farther from the truth. My adventures were always adventitious. Yes, they were always thrust on me. Always endured rather than undertaken. I'm of the very essence of that proud, boastful Nordic people who have never had the least scent of adventure, but who nevertheless have scoured the earth, turned it upside down, scattering relics and ruins everywhere. Restless spirits, but not adventurous ones. Agonizing spirits incapable of living in the present. Disgraceful cowards, all of them, and myself included. For there is only one great adventure, and that is inward toward the self. For that, time, not space, nor deeds matter. But once, every few years, I was on the verge of making this discovery, but in characteristic fashion, I always managed to dodge the issue. I try to think of a good excuse. I can think only of my environment, of the streets I knew, and of the people who inhabited them. I can think of no street in America, or of people inhabiting such a street, capable of leading one toward the discovery of the self. I have walked the streets in many countries of the world, but nowhere have I felt so degraded and humiliated as in America. I think of all the streets to America, all the streets and roads that are in America, combined, forming a huge cesspool, a cesspool of the spirit in which everything is sucked down and drained away to everlasting shit. Over this cesspool, the spirit of work weaves a magic wand. Palaces and factories spring up side by side, and munition plants and chemical works and steel mills and sanatoriums and prisons and insane asylums. The whole continent is a nightmare, producing the greatest misery of the greatest number. I was one, a single entity in the midst of greatest jamboree of wealth and happiness. Statistical wealth and statistical happiness, but I never met a man who was truly wealthy or truly happy. At least I knew that I was unhappy, unwealthy, out of whack and out of step. And that was my only solace, my only joy. It was hardly enough. It would have been better for my peace of mind, for my soul, if I had expressed my rebellion openly, if I had gone to jail for it, if I had rotted there and died. It would have been better if, like the man sees all gods, I had shot some good President McKinley, some gentle, insignificant soul like that, who had never done anyone the least harm, because in the bottom of my heart there was murder. I wanted to see America destroyed, razed from top to bottom. I wanted to see this happen purely out of vengeance, as atonement for the crimes that were committed against me and against others like me who have never been able to lift their voices and express their hatred, their rebellion, their legitimate bloodlust. I was the evil product of an evil soil. If the self were not imperishable, the I write about what would have been destroyed long ago. To some, this may seem like an invention, but whatever I imagine to have happened did actually happen, at least to me. History may deny it, since I have played no part in the history of my people. But even if everything I say is wrong, is prejudiced, is spiteful, is malevolent, even if I am a liar and a prisoner, it is nevertheless the truth, and it will have to be swallowed. And as to what happened, everything that happens, when it has significance, is in the nature of a contradiction. Till the one for whom this is written came along, I imagined that somewhere outside in life, as they say, lay the solution to all things. I thought, when I came upon her, that I was seizing hold of life, seizing hold of something which I could bite into. Instead, I lost hold of my life completely. I reached out for something to attach myself to, and I found nothing. But in reaching out, in the effort to grasp, I attached myself, left high and dry as I was, and I nevertheless found something I had not looked for myself. I found that what I desired all my life was not to live, if what others are doing is called living, but to express myself. I realized that I had never the least interest in living. But only in this, which I am doing now, something which is parallel to life, of it, the same time and beyond it. What is true interests me scarcely at all, nor even what is real, only that interests me which I imagine to be that which I had stifled every day in order to live. Whether I die today or tomorrow is of no importance to me, never has been, but that today, even after years of effort, I cannot say what I think and feel, and that bothers me, that rankles. From childhood on, I can see myself on the track of this spectre, enjoying nothing, desiring nothing but this power, this ability. Everything else is a lie. Everything I ever did or said, which did not bear upon this, well, and that is pretty much the greater part of my life. I was a contradiction, in essence, as I say. People took me to be serious and high-minded, or to be gay and reckless, or to be sincere and earnest, or to be negligent and carefree. I was all these things at once. And beyond that, I was something else, something which no one suspected, least of all myself. As a boy of 6 or 7, I used to sit at my grandfather's workbench and read to him while he sewed. I remember him vividly in those moments when, pressing the hot iron against the seam of a coat, he would stand with one hand over the other and look out of the window dreamily. And I remember the expression on his face as he stood there dreaming, better than the contents of the books I read, better than the conversations we had or the games which I played in the street. I used to wonder what he was dreaming of, and what it was that drew him out of himself. I hadn't learned yet how to dream wide awake. I was always lucid, in the moment, and all of a piece. His daydreaming fascinated me. I knew that he had no connection with what he was doing, not the least thought for any of us. That he was alone, and being alone was free. And I was never alone, least of all when I was by myself. Always, it seems to me, I was accompanied. I was like a little crumb of big cheese, which was the world, I suppose. Though I never stopped to think about it. But I know I never existed separately. I never thought myself the big cheese, as it were. Thank you. This has been my first reading.